All right, we're gonna do something a little bit different today. I've got one of these sliding puzzles. You've probably done one of these before, but I wanted to show you guys a trick that I guess I kind of figured out back when I was in middle school. I recently saw one of these puzzles again, and I was thinking about that trick, and I looked it up, tried to see if I could find anywhere online where people had talked about this move that I sort of found. And I didn't see anything. There's probably, I can't imagine no one's thought of this before. So I'm sure this is something people already know, and I'm just out of the loop. But I Googled it, couldn't find it, so I thought I'd show you guys. I thought it was pretty cool. All right, so you've probably all seen one of these kind of puzzles before. This is just one I got on Amazon. It's the 36 cell version. A lot of times you'll see, 9 cell, 16 cell, 25. This one's 36. It's the same puzzle no matter what. You slide this hand up out of the way. And so now there's one empty space, and this is your ultimate goal, is putting them all in order. And essentially, since there's one open space, you can always move one piece into the space, and you can shift things around to try and get them into the right position. And so what I kind of figured out with some trial and error is you can move a piece, a knight's move, into the gap without changing anything else. So by a knight's move, I mean like in chess. So for example, in this position here with this open space, I can move a 23 into the gap, because there would be move 2 and over, a little L shape like a knight in chess. Or I can move the 28 into that gap and not change any of the rest of them, which is super helpful because you can pretty much just solve the whole thing only using that move. And what's great is you move a piece without changing all of them around it. Because usually, if I want to get 29 down here, I have to kind of do one of these and over here, but now the 30 and the 35 are wrong. So by moving a piece into the gap, you're changing the other ones. So this allows you to move pieces without changing the rest of the board. So just think about these 6 cells right here, just these 6 in the corner. And the way it kind of works in my head, at least, is I sort of think of these two, the 29, 35, as a pair, and the 24 and 30 is kind of a pair, these two. And you're kind of moving the pairs so that you can snake the 23 through here. Let me show you what I mean. So if you move the 35 and the 29 down, so you're sort of sliding that pair down here, the 23 comes down, now you take the other pair, 24, 30, and they slide up like that. Now the 23 can come across here, the 29 and 35 go back, the 23 comes down, and these go back, and we are in the exact same position. The only thing that has changed is the 23 jump from here to here, a knight's move change. And so then from here, now in this space, you could get the 10, the 12, the 15, the 27, the 34, or the 23 into that gap without changing anything else. It's a really powerful move, and so you can pretty much solve any puzzle just using that move. There might be a more efficient way or a quicker way to solve it using other methods, but for example, if this was the position of the board, obviously the best move is just to move the 29 down. I mean, that seems trivial, but the point is, obviously the knight's move thing is not always the best move, but I think it's very helpful because you move a piece without changing anything else. So let's do a couple more. Let's see. Let's move the 16 down here just for fun. So the way it works is you got to go the long way. You got to kind of go the long way first, and then the short way, and then the long way. So you got 3 by 2 here. So I move these two as I sort of think of it as shifting that pair over. Move the 16 down, you shift this pair up. Move the 16 over, shift this pair back, 16 is down, these go back, boom. Same exact position, everything else is still where it was, but the 16 jumped down here. So you can actually do the same thing moving farther. I played around with this a little bit. I hadn't done this for years, and I was playing around with it the other day to see if I even remembered how it worked or learn anything else about it. And one of the things I found that was kind of interesting, so I was thinking, let's go back to our gap down here. My thought was, oh, I wonder if you can do a double knight's move, right? So 29 can move down here. I wonder if 12 can move down here because it can do a knight's move to 29 and then another knight's move to here and still leave everything else the same. And I thought, well, you know, maybe if you do that kind of thing, then you can jump the 12 down to here and jump it down and then shift it but that didn't actually work. And so what I found out instead is that you can actually move the 11 to this gap. And I'm not entirely sure why that works actually. I'm sure there's some mathematicians out there who could, you know, explain this, but I don't quite know what it is. All I know is from playing around with it that it works. So essentially what I did was I sort of, because of how I found it, I sort of think of it as trying to move the 11 to the 24. And so if we shift these down, so let me get it back to the starting state. All right, there we go. So all I did was just undid those knights moves that we'd already done. So now it's all back in the correct order so we can see if things remain in their position. We don't have to memorize where everything is. All right, so thinking of moving the 11 to the 24, well, there needs to be a gap there, right, for us to move the 11 down there with the knight's move. So I'm gonna shift these down out of the way for now. Let's do our knight's move. And now we need a gap down here. So we're moving it here. I know we're trying to get the 11 here, but for now we're just thinking the knight's move. So if we shift all these up, we can do our knight's move again. And now this gets us all the way back here. So it gets us here, and now we have to move the 29 down here. So there's an extra step because the 29 got shifted out of the way, but we know how to move that down that way. And there. So what we've done now, there was a lot of moving there. Essentially, I did a double knight's move of the 11 down to here, shifted it over, and then moved the 29 back. And so I've moved the 11 from here down to here, so it's 4 in 1. And everything else is still, as you can see, in the positions that they started in. They're all 10, 12, 16, 17, 18, 22, 20, you know, they're in order. So I'm assuming there's a way, I haven't actually played with it enough to figure it out, but there's probably a way to get from 17 down here as well. You know, you can get from 23, you can get from 11. There's probably a way to do 5 and 17. I couldn't really quite get it to work when I was playing with it. There's probably a whole different series of ways you can go. I mean, I don't even know if you can go from anywhere to anywhere else. Maybe there's a generalized solution that some mathematician could come up with that's smarter than me. But, you know, maybe you could go from 26 to 16. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if there is. I guess, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if there's not either, I guess. But all I know is this knight's move works, and it's easy. It's super easy to do. It's not that complicated to remember. You just shift the 2 up, shift them back, and snake it around, and it just sort of moves right into place, and everything else is still there. So yeah, there you go. I thought it was a pretty cool move. I thought people might find it interesting. Now I'm gonna mix this up, and I'll solve the whole thing using that knight's move. There, we're gonna say this is mixed up. I know there's some pieces that are still in the right spot, like the 5 and the 6 here. There. Now those aren't in the right spots. We're just gonna say this is good enough mixed up for a demonstration. So, how do we use the move to actually solve the puzzle? That's the real question, right? So we know we can move a 9 into here, we can move an 18 into here. The 9 doesn't want to be there, the 18 doesn't want to be there. That's not where we're trying to get them. So what do we do? Well, for one, we can move the 5 and the 6 over, obviously. That seems like the natural first step. So now, what I would do personally, this may not be the best way, but I would look for pieces, look for pieces that can get somewhere that they need to be. So for example, right here, the 4 actually wants to be right there. So this is perfect. We move the 4 into the gap. But if the gap was, you know, over here, I might do something like move the 1 up here and then shift it over, because these aren't in the right spots anyways. So I don't necessarily care if these get moved. So I could do, you know, get the 1, I'm getting the 1 up there right next to where it's supposed to be, right? And not mixing everything else up too badly. And then I can shift those down and move the 1 over. So these have ended up in a different spot, but they're roughly where they were. And I don't really care that those got moved right now, because they're not where they need to be anyways. Now, from here, I could go back to here and move the 4. I could also just shift the 22 over and put the 3 in place. I think I'm gonna do the 4 first, not for any particular reason. I think it works either way. So we shift the 4 up into place, and now if we shift these down, now the 3 is ready to move with our knight's move. And we've kept the 1, so we've already got the 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6 in their spots. And look at this, if we shift these up, now the 2 is a knight's move away from where it needs to be. We'll have to do some adjusting to get the gap up there. But we can do our knight's move, and boom, we got the whole first row already. So now we want to get the 7 up here. You know, we can put it here easily. That gets it close. Let's go ahead and do that. And then it's only the 1 space away, and since the 15 and 22 aren't supposed to be there anyways, we're okay to shift those over and put the 7 up into place. Now the 8, well, if we do a little bit of moving like this, the 8 is now in position to move up. And the beauty about this move is it's not gonna mess up that 7. Yeah, the 7 gets shifted out of the way, but it goes right back into place. Now, look at this, this is perfect. Because the 10 is supposed to be here. But the 9 is supposed to be here. So all we gotta do is shift the 10 over, 16 down, puts our 9 into place, and now our 10 is a knight's move from where it needs to be. And again, we're not gonna mess up the 8 and the 9 by doing this move, because they're gonna end up right where they started at the end of it. All right, now our 11 needs to go there, and look, again, this works out perfect, because our 11 needs to go there, our 12 needs to shift over, and we need a gap right there. So if we just do this, we're all set up to move the 11, and now the 12's into place. And I just kind of go through it in order like this. I don't know, there's probably a better way. You know, you could come down here and put some of these into position, but I just sort of go in order, moving them using this knight's move thing. Now, again, over here, we've got 14 needs to be over, and our 13 is just ready for the knight's move gap here. It's kind of amazing, if you play around with this a little bit, how often the piece ends up just kind of right in the perfect position, or almost in the perfect position. All right, so we want to get the 15 here and move the 16 over 1. It's not quite where we want to be. You know, there's a couple ways we could go about this. We could get a gap over here and try to move the 15 up, but then the 16 is going to be on the wrong side. What I'm going to do is move the 15 right here. So now the 15 is the knight's move away, the 16 is in the right spot. Just like that, there we go. And now our 17 isn't quite in the right place either. Again, we don't want to jump up here because we'll be on the wrong side of the 18. But, you know, we can kind of shift things around. And now the 18's in position, the 17's ready to move up there. Okay. Now for the 19, it needs to move over here. There's a couple different ways we could do that. I'm actually going to move the 20 next to it and kind of just do a circle here with these pieces. And that will move the 19 and 20 over, and I'll be able to get the 21 up there. And now they're in place, and look at that. Our 22 is now a knight's move away from the gap. Isn't that convenient? Now we got 4 rows done. 4 rows. Okay, the 25 needs to jump the 26 here, right? They need to switch places. So in order to do that, let's get the 25 down here, and now the gap is there. So we can move that up into position. 26 is still in place. Now the 27 needs to move over here, which is too far. We can get it to here, but you know, the 33 isn't gonna, we don't really care that the 33 is there anyway, so if we jump the 27 here, we can shift some things around and I think it'll work. And in fact, our 28 is right there. If our 27 is next to it, we can kind of shift them both up as a pair and get them both into place. So let's go ahead and do that. And we know our 28 is gonna be in that same spot when we get done. Now, to shift it up there is the problem. Our 28 actually isn't gonna be able to shift up with our 27 like I had hoped. That's not gonna work. But we can still get our 27 into place. And now, kind of do a circle move with just these 4 and get our 28 into place. Now the 29 needs to be here. So, let's see, how can we do that? We can do here, but then we need the gap right there, don't we? So, I'm gonna do, this one's tricky. But remember, we can also do this move, right? We can do the double, the twice as far knight's move. See if we can remember how to do this. I always have to think about this one. The main regular knight's move is easy to remember. This one's a little tricky because I haven't done it very many times. So if I remember correctly, I'm trying to get here to here first. So I have to create that gap. All right, we've done that. Now we need to create the gap over here. Even though we're trying to get it there, we're thinking of the knight's move over to here. And then look, we can do that little circle thing with these 4 again. Perfect, and the 30 is ready to go. Now, oh, we gotta get the 32 over here. We're so close. All we gotta do is get this, the 34, yeah, those are in the wrong spot too. So the last few pieces are usually the hardest because you've got everything else in place and it's not lined up correctly to do the knight's move over to here. But what we can do is maybe stick the 32 up here in this gap and see if we can shift some things around. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get it close. And I know this is gonna mess up a couple of the pieces potentially, but I think it'll be okay. All right, so if I do this, I can jump the 32 down to here. And we stuck the 35 in there, but guess what? The 35 wants to be down here. I think we got it. Because now when we jump the 35 down here, everything else shifts into place. There we go. And it's solved. All right, so there you go. That's the move that I learned in middle school. I guess I'll probably leave a link in the description where you can buy one of these on Amazon. There's nothing special about this one. It's just cheapo plastic, but I didn't have one at home, so I needed to get one to show you. Let me know what you think. Did you know about this move? Is this old news? Is this new to you? Did you think it was good, helpful? Do you have a better move? Maybe you have a better idea. Maybe you know how to make it work with the other distances. If anybody has got a way to make it work with different moves, let me know. I'd be interested. I think it's pretty cool how this weird knight's move thing ends up not moving the other pieces around. It's kind of crazy. So let me know what you think. I'll see you guys next time.